Got Maurizio Topotopini right here.
No, I was just stating a fact.
Our Italian
I didn't
brother.
say any. I say it is 7:32.
Yeah, and
It's time to go.
And thank God Harley's not here.
It's time to go. Come on, guys. Let's roll.
I didn't say
It's 7:32. We get it. All right. Come on, guys. Yeah, I wonder. We can talk and ride. On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton, rode into the woodlands. We picked up Team RR. Mo was there on this ride. We went out on 1488 over Mount Magnolia. After we got across Mount Magnolia, we got on 149. That's all on film. Went to Jackson Road, out to 1486. That's off camera. We rode through Mount Moriah Road. That's on film. When we got to Dacus, we left the group and rode out into the forest. We took Bailey Grove, went out to 149, cut across on Mount Pleasant Road after getting off Hidden Forest Road, came back on Fishcreek Boulevard. We filmed on Capitol Road, and right there you can see on Fishcreek the speeds were high. It was a lot of fun coming back. It was kind of breezy, but I think that you all will enjoy the clips that we got for you. This is the warm-up. We just passed 2978. We're in the neighborhood headed towards the FM 1486 westbound through Magnolia, Texas. Found out this week they were having some big races. If you've ever thought about dabbling in USCF racing, if you're in the US, you get to race with the pros. At some races they'll group Pro 1, 2, 3, and 4, depending on the turnout. You get a chance. A lot of times they have Pro 1, 2, 3. So if you've ever had aspirations of racing with elite cyclists, you can go to one of the USCF races in your area. And sometimes if you don't have an annual license, you can even get a one-day license to participate in some bike racing. It can be interesting, but before you do something like that, you need to be comfortable riding in a group here like you see we're doing, because it's a mass start race. It turns out I believe Mo is doing an event on Sunday. This is Saturday. So he's riding with us doing a short distance to keep his legs loose, and he's going to head back home. You'll see him turn when we get past Magnolia. So it's just something I wanted to point out, that the racing is accessible if you have ambitions to test yourself. So because he's racing tomorrow, he's riding and sitting in and taking it easy, and you will see him do some very, very nice angled guest shots with the camera. And I just want to thank him for taking the camera. We got some really nice shots. I'll mostly use most of his shots in the trailer, but you'll get to see them here. It ended up being a slightly muggy morning than I expected. It says 20 Celsius, but it feels warmer. It's a very good shot here Paul has. Paul Ilonga has gotten very proficient with the camera, and so he gets a lot of really good shots. But it was nice to have the perspective of another rider filming the group from varying angles. Moore got some very nice low shots also, and it was just sweet to see. We appreciate that. So I hope his event was a lot of fun on Sunday. So one thing about cycling is that you don't want to take off too much time, even when you're competing or you have an event, because then your legs might be blocked up. That's why he's riding today before his event. But he's not going to be riding to the point where he gets tired. It's just to kind of loosen up, a few hard efforts. And you got to gauge it. You got to talk to your coach, see what you should do if you have a coach, or you have to learn over time what you need to loosen up. You shouldn't get home the day before a race tired if you go out for a spin. It should be a tranquil ride, easy. Few stretches of some efforts, but nothing to wear you out. So we turn right here. This is Tamina Road, and that's the FM 1488. You will see Mike Weingrad. He lives out here. He's waiting for us at this intersection. He will join the group just as we approach the intersection. There he is on the right. He lives in Lake Windcrest, which is right off of 1488, about a kilometer left of here. So everybody's using to warm up the chat. That's why I said we can talk and ride when we're in the lot. So we go through the light. It was a decent wait at the light early in the morning. But right here, you have to be diligent. This is about riding with a fast-paced group. You got to keep your eyes and ears open. You see Patrick up there in the yellow and earth tone? He's staying close. I've got my eye on them, but then still a gap opens. You'll see. So I'm chatting with Paul when the gap opens.
I was just telling Jerry that I'm fixing bikes, so that's what we're talking about. Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Jerry and I have been chatting.
He didn't know. He said that he used to go to Bicycle World, and once they closed, he started going somewhere.
See, the guys are pulling away while we're talking. Well, we got to close that gap.
Hey, Mike.
So I told him, let's get up there.
All right, man.
Just as we said good morning to Mike Weingrad, I realized we got to get up there. So you've got to be diligent. There's a penalty you pay when you leave a gap. So I get a little low just to cheat the wind. I'm telling him, I don't know what I said to Paul, but my focus right now is to get up to those guys because they're moving. I'm having to do about 27 to 28 miles an hour to get up there. I want to get up there quickly and get in the draft. And I'm there. I kept my cadence high to keep my legs supple. Paul is dosing out his effort over a longer period of time. I wanted to get it over with. So we're holding about 26 miles an hour almost. So they're having to do about 26, 27. Right now we're right around 25. And so Paul gets to my wheel here. He had to work for a bit because no one helped him on that pull. I concentrate on keeping my shoulders relaxed. There's a tendency for some riders to raise their shoulders. That takes energy. There is no reason raising your shoulders doesn't make the bike go faster. And because we're going fairly fast, I want to stay close so my effort does not continue to increase because this speed is being maintained. We don't have a perfect tailwind. It's breezy. If you look at my bandana, you will see it fluttering. The little white at the back of my helmet. That's the bandana fluttering. The wind is swirling around. Patrick is a little smaller than I am, so I'm really close to him. I stay slightly to his left so I can see, and I know that by the white line is nice and clean. So even when they point out stuff, I'm not concerned about that because I can see the line and I know that where I am, I don't have to worry about too many pieces of debris because they get blown to the right. So everybody's in a line because we're riding fairly fast. And so since Mo is resting for tomorrow, I can guarantee you he's sitting in the draft. He's not going to waste energy. He's going to sit in the draft. And if he does work, he will do just a little bit of work to kind of keep himself loose. And he's not going to go too far to waste energy that he can use tomorrow at his event. There's a Texas State Road Championships. I think the time trial is today. And I think the criteria It's somewhere in central Texas, near I think Fort Hood or something like that. It's a little town, a little west of there. They have a really good loop. I looked it up online. They got like a 33-mile road course that is completely closed to traffic. So just to ride that course, they were even allowing people that were not participating in the championships to just go and sign up to ride the course. They had an event for just like an open race or an open ride after the category. And if you want to try racing, you don't need to be 17 or 25. You can do it. They have age group racing. They have masters racing. They got all kinds of categories depending on the event that you can go and participate in. As the road gets dirtier, meaning little rocks and pebbles and stuff, I stay on the white line more and more. You can see the gravel to the right. When it rains, it gets washed onto this shoulder. But we are really moving here. 47 kilometers an hour, 48. We're almost approaching 30 miles an hour. You see how low I'm staying behind Patrick? He sits a little higher than I do, so I'm using that to my advantage because he's smaller than I am, so I stay low. And Patrick is getting really good drive from James because they sit about the same height up on the bike. And you see Paulie Lunga is on my wheel. You can't mess around at these speeds. You will get worn out quicker. That's the whole point of being with the group. You save your energy. There were a few new riders that I was not familiar with that were riding today. I think one of them is at the front pulling right now. We have a few guys here besides more that are actively racing from time to time. So when they show up, it spices up the ride. So when you're riding with a group on the days when they're going faster than you're accustomed to, that's even more reason to be diligent and draft better, draft well. Makes a big difference. So we're moving. I'm sitting in the draft and I'm approaching sweet spot. So you have to train appropriately to make sure you can tolerate the zones you're going to be riding in with your group. I vary the cadences I use when there's a need for me to accelerate, just like you would in a car that has a stick shift. You would downshift. Don't be shy to use your gearing properly. You need every mechanical advantage you can get. Every ounce of watts that you save will save you. That's the guy who was pulling on the right there. So he pulls off, and I believe, I don't know the name of the gentleman that takes over. Paul flips the camera around. I like this view. That's Wine Grab back there. I'm switching my bottles because one of the bottles has electrolytes in it, so I put it up front now. So even though I'm not thirsty, when you're riding fast, it's good to frequently hydrate. It's like you're topping off your fluid levels so your engine does not overheat. We're cruising here. I'm in a larger gear than I would ordinarily be in. The road's kind of flat, and I'm just kind of rolling it. And And I think in a little bit it's going to go slightly downhill as the speeds go up. I had an unusual week training-wise. I was only able to ride one day. I got my second shot, Moderna, for the COVID-19, and it just made my left arm sore, just like the first one did, but even more so. It was a little more achy. But I just felt kind of meh when I went on my ride on Thursday. So even though I intended to go hard, once I got on the bike, my body wasn't up to it. I wasn't ill or anything. I just decided to spin and change the plan for the ride. You should be able to do that. You have to listen to your body. Nothing is set in stone. You see me soft pedaling? You have to be aware of what's going on in the group. When the other riders are coasting or whatever, you don't need to be putting the power down. But you can see we've been cruising at 25 plus miles per hour for kilometers. I'm adjusting my shoe. The shoe I'm wearing has the bore closure, so you can micro dial it. That's Robert LaPlante drifting to the back. Since we're just kind of rolling, I'm not really concerned about my cadence. This part of the ride is not very, very hard right here. We're going slightly downhill, but in a little bit, it's gonna kick up. I'm pointing at the reflectors so the riders behind me can see. It's more effective. Don't be yelling. People are not gonna understand the diction of what you're saying in the wind. I'm looking for that hole. There is a hole that's been here since the road was built. And I point to it because it appears quickly. You're on it before you know it's there. And I point to it and I move away from it as a guide for the people following me. So if you stay on my wheel, you don't have to worry about it. This is where the road is going to kick up. See, it says 2%.
Thank you.
Mo takes the camera here from Paul. That's what Paul said, thank you. And this is when we get some awesome shots. So we get a shot like this that we ordinarily wouldn't get. We get both of us in the picture at the same time. Most riding to the front and to film the group from the front. This is a nice shot. Excellent. This is sweet. It's almost like we got a guy on a motorcycle filming us like they do in the tours. That's cool. There's an officer over there that was writing somebody a ticket, and so he was on the shoulder, so we used the lane, and then he pulled out once he was done, and we're going back on the shoulder. That's Jerry here, that's Abby in the turquoise over there. This is Mike S5, and that's Mark Kate. I didn't get the name of this gentleman. He was pulling earlier. That's Logan on the yellow bike, and that's Robert LaPlante. Robert did the Hotter Than Hell 100 in August. It's north, I think it's Wichita Falls, Texas. North of the Dallas area. From the Dallas area. It's not close to Dallas. It's a good ride, but it's hot. They have it every year. Kind of a standing ride, and then they have category USCF racing as well. So Texas has a lot of cycling events. COVID kind of slowed it down. Look at this shot. Mo is spinning up, getting the whole group here. This is sweet. And those of you who are not familiar with Mo, Moore raced with Mario Cipollini, Francesco Casagrande, Michele Bartoli from back in the day. Moore is from Italy, and he's now ours in the Woodlands, Texas area. So Moore is an elite racer. He still dabbles in USCF racing. So Moore has a group, the WCC guys, that leave on Saturdays, usually from the Ash Lane YMCA. And I think Sundays they're leaving from somewhere else. They change their location. So we have options of groups to ride with depending on what you want to do. This is an excellent shot. And from the distance he's at, it gives a different perspective. That's nice. Excellent. You see Paul's cadence? He's keeping that cadence high because we got a little ramp coming up. It gets up to around 3% or so. But we rode it very civilized today. We're doing about 20 miles an hour, and it gets around 3% or so. I think it might drop to 18 by the time we're done. But you can't focus so much on the speed per se. Most group will ride this thing like 25 miles an hour sometimes, when they're really pouring it on. They don't back off too much. So you got to work yourself up to be able to do that, that effort. Look at Mo. Mo's having fun. Maurizio Topotopini.
Champousson leading the pack on the climb. Champousson.
So he's got a high cadence here, which saves your legs. I think that's just his style. Every time he's at the front, he seems to be really getting into it. That's Patrick there. Patrick rides with more than them most of the time. Standing, looking smooth. I just took to change the rhythm a little bit. Sometimes when you get to a little pitch on a climb, it helps to just stand in the same gear, kind of stretch your back. So you will see Moore will go left and he will go in front and do just some awesome shots at the curve that's coming up. So the climb is over, we're descending. And if your legs are tight, this is where you want to shift up and keep pedaling. It will help keep them loose. Look at this shot. This is beautiful. Awesome cinematography. Maurizio Topotopini showing all the skills. He's got the camera down. That is beautiful. Look at that. That is beautiful. And watch this in the curve as the group comes up. That is beautiful. Look at that. That's Patrick. Patrick laughs. And we go around. That is beautiful. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Oh, wow. Nice shot. Nice shot, Mo. Awesome cinematography. Look at that. Look at that. You see everybody working. You see Paul come through there. Takes a few kicks, then he's gonna sit in one motion. You gotta practice that. See that? He didn't stop pedaling. You gotta practice that. Then you don't have to worry about the people behind you. You can stand and sit without your momentum changing. Excellent. Oh, that's beautiful. We come. This is Highway 149.
It's difficult. It's difficult. Yeah.
Mo says it's difficult to film with the camera.
Deserve a relief.
Have you seen the YouTubers that do it? They put a on a mouthpiece and they put it in their mouth.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I wonder if there is actually. Now that you say mouthpiece.
But they do.
Well, there are mouthpieces, but I wonder if there is one that you could put on your wrist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could still potentially, but you still have access to your brakes. I wonder, like a strap.
Yeah.
It's a business idea.
There you go. You can design it. Try and test it.
Yeah, they used to make one. It's funny that Mo
Yeah, well, the
mentioned that.
problem with those, as Eldred said, it's always the same shot. Right? It's a very... Whereas these are a little bit more dynamic. You can do different things.
Those are good for like race analysis. And
Yeah. So what they're talking about is when you...
This weekend or next weekend?
Yeah, tomorrow.
When you, that's the race they're talking about. Mo is doing a race tomorrow, Sunday. That's why he's riding short today. Short and fairly easy for him.
Jerry, thanks for pulling the next 10 miles.
Jerry, sit here with your size. You can actually trigger.
Most of Jerry's to sit there to trigger the light. We wave this driver up, so you see him moving up, so that he can trigger the light for us to make sure we get a green. So what Mo was saying was that if we put it on our wrist, GoPro has made stuff in the past that you could put on your wrist. And then he was saying access to the brakes. I think even the way we carry it, we can brake because of that little stick he was holding. We can still brake, but I see what he meant. If you could put it on your wrist to get a similar shot in the front. When things were really fast. Yeah, that right there, he was off the road. He was not paying attention in that curve. I think he was looking at something on his bike. Good handling, but he got back on there. No worries. Yeah, watch the edge of the road when you ride. It's not your friend. The edge of those pavement, it can throw you off. And when that does happen, just go off the road like he did, and then come back on. So he didn't panic. He went off the road and got back on.
Handle the camera said it's difficult. Yeah. Mo said it's difficult to carry a camera in the right.
Yeah. So you see where my hand is on the right? We just slip the camera in between there. So we can still brake, but we can't shift. That's the thing. That's what Mo was talking about. So if you can put it on your wrist, and that might help the angle. So he told Paul, I think somebody said, good business idea. And Mo said, yeah, you designed that. Yeah. It's a little challenging, but especially when you're going really hard in a racing event, you don't want the concentration from riding to be taken away by filming. That's what makes it hard, because your mind is on something other than riding your bike, especially when you're going very hard. It's not that bad if the effort is not too hard, but when it gets really hard, then it's like, man, it requires even more concentration. So he's right. It's not easy, but we've gotten kind of accustomed to it. But man, awesome shots that he got. That was great. It's beautiful. It's always a pleasure when Mo comes by. It just brightens everything up. So Mo is doing an event, as I explained earlier. So in a few kilometers, probably about, I would say, 10 kilometers, he will turn right. He will take 149 back and most likely go through the Keenan cutoff area and go back through the neighborhood to get home, to do a shorter amount of hours so that he can be rested but loose. So a lot of the top riders, even in the Euro racing scene, they'll do at least 2 hours easy on their off days, especially in the Grand Tours, just to keep your body on that rhythm of riding all the time. You have to learn to rest on the bike as well. So when you're riding and you pass a racer that looks like they know what they're doing, don't pat yourself on the back, because that rider may just be taking it easy that day. And riders who have a plan, they're not going to chase you around. They're just out spinning. And so a lot of times when you're riding and you chase up to somebody and you catch them easily, that may mean that they're taking it easy that day. Nothing wrong with that. You catch them, say hi, and go on by your business, because more often than not, they won't be riding with you. That was not their plan. In fact, a lot of times they prefer to rest solo. So the only time you saw Mo was when he was doing the filming, and then after that he's sitting in back there, staying in the draft, keeping his effort minimal. At this point, I did not know he was going to be turning. When we get up the road, you will see that. But the whole time here, because we're going at such a reasonable effort, I'm staying close, which keeps my effort low. You can see my heart rate says 143. That's zone 2. So that's why Mo is riding with a group. You get company and you move faster. So you cover more ground, but you move faster at a lower effort because of the draft. So riding with the group is a big plus. That's really why I do these videos, to get more cyclists to get comfortable riding with others. It challenges you when you want to be challenged, and it helps you when the pace is fairly reasonable and the terrain is reasonable. You can sit in and cover more ground. It's everything about riding with a group enhances your riding. Although you should do some training alone, you shouldn't do all your training alone if you want to improve. The group can push you more depending on who's there. And knowing that, based on what I just said, one day I was riding on Research Boulevard, and Mo and Sana, and I think Jesus and them came by, and Mo said, "You riding by yourself today? You're not riding with the group?" It was a Sunday, I think. And I said, yeah, I just kind of wanted to ride solo that day, but I knew what he meant. It takes the boredom out of it. I mean, you know, you train enough by yourself during the week because you really can't get with a group all the time. Although in the Woodlands, there are always rides. Like Wednesday night, they have an NPR ride. And then sometimes people will post other events. And then usually in the summer, they have the Hammerfest on Tuesday. So you can find a couple of rides in any area you live in. You can find out some organized rides during the week. If you can't, then you ride by yourself, but then try to get with a group on the weekend. That prepares you for the dynamics of racing, if that's what you're into. But even if you're not a racer, riding with a group really would make you a stronger, better cyclist overall. It enhances the skills you develop as a solo rider. As I do this recording, Mark Kate just sent a notification to the GroupMe app that they have for the ride, and I'm going to read it verbatim. He says, "Congrats to Mauricio Topini for winning the Texas State Championship 50 plus division road race yesterday. Mo completed the 66-mile course in 2 hours and 49 minutes. And in case you're wondering, he averaged 23.4 miles per hour. Great job, Mo." That's awesome. So Mo won our Texas State Road Race Championship for the age group 50 plus. Excellent, excellent. And you know, he's riding with former racers like himself. You know, the 50 plus are fast guys. So that was awesome. That's the course I was talking about. Good job, Mo. So it helps to prepare. You can see this was part of his preparation. But overall, throughout the year, you know, he's working hard and riding consistently, and he has a training plan. So if you don't, get a coach. If you have ambitions, get a coach. See, Mo is going to turn right. He's been sitting in, he's going to turn right. I asked him if he's turning. Then he's going to tell everybody he's turning so that we can give him room. So that's 149. He's going to take it to go home, and he saved his legs and was able to win his race, his category. This is Jackson Road, and the train's moving up the road, so I go ahead and put the watts in and get up there so I can save my energy once I get in the draft. This is a little grade, by 2% or so. And these guys are pouring it on, so you got to be diligent. So the Texas State Championship is a big race. I mean, all the top guys and ambitious people are there. They have time trials like on Saturday. It's like a weekend of racing. The Moore did the road race.
Go ahead, I'm staying.
So Paul tells Mike S5 and the other guys to come around him here. In a few kilometers, Mark would have had enough of this pace, and he's going to tell them to go ahead. Because we've been riding fast the whole ride. You hear the wind. We have not had a perfect tailwind. So we're working, and I'm sitting really close. The entire ride I stayed close because I only was able to ride one day this week of this Saturday. I was only able to ride on Thursday, just busy with other things. And so I wasn't sure how my body would respond. And whenever you're not sure like that, you got to kind of temper your effort and wait to see how you feel. I ended up feeling pretty good. So, you know, whenever there's a doubt, it's better to rest than to do too much. The average that Moore did on that race, 23 point something miles per hour for 66 miles. It's not flat out there. You know, that's Central Texas. They were going up and down, so that's even more impressive. You know, the Fort Hood area, you know, north of Austin and stuff like that, they got nothing but hills out there, so they were up and down. The speeds are staying high, but the key is that it's consistent. So if you stay close, you can tolerate it. But everybody that goes to the front, what happens is that sometimes the speeds will change, you get little surges and so forth. That's just group riding, it happens. That's Logan, he pulled off. I don't know if you're gonna get behind Paul. I think he does. Okay. So in a few kilometers, probably about 3 kilometers or so, Paul will just will see that Mark will wave him up, and then Paul tries to like kind of hang back with Mark, and then Mark tells him, "Go ahead, Paul." Because Mark is having an off day. Even at the intersection back there at 149, he was talking about, I'm going to get shot out the back. I'm the only one breathing hard. And so depending on how his week went, he was already feeling the effects of the pace of this ride. You have to listen to your body at all times. We're doing about 26, 27 miles per hour here. It's breezy, and this road, it says 1%. This road is what somebody called ninja grade. I call it falls flat. You're working. We're going north. You're working. So you feel a little bit of the effort, so you have to stay close. Now right here, somebody's talking to James. Look, he's gonna back off. Look at the gap he's leaving to hear what the person is saying. This wastes your energy. Don't do that. And if you are behind him, stay on his wheel so he can close the gap that he created. All those little surges, they tap you. They tap your energy. It's a slight grade here. You can see just visually, it looks like it's going up. The entire time I'm up there, I'm in like maybe fourth or fifth position, and I'm staying really close. I'm following the guy who was pulling on 1488 with that multi-colored outfit, gray and whatever. This is where Mark waves them up. He's had enough. He's gonna take a break, back off the pace a bit. And then Paul's gonna try to stay with him. Then he tells Paul to go ahead, but by then this gap has opened on Paul. And so we go ahead and switch here to later in the ride when we regroup after Mount Moriah. We're on 1486 northbound. The group pretty much broke up there where you saw it. We waited for everybody, but even after we got to Mount Moriah, people were still feeling the effects of the pace on this ride. So the group split. Some people stopped for a health break, and then they were pedaling slower. So you will see here that we've got a few riders up there. I believe Logan and them are ahead, and Paul and I are riding together here, going towards Dacus. We plan to stop at the store so I can load up my bottles, because he's fine. He's got enough fluids. I wanted more. It just seemed warmer than I expected it to be, and so I wanted to get enough fluid so we wouldn't have to stop again. And it was a good idea. It was Paul's suggestion. Let's just go ahead and get your fluids here at Dacus. It's a store called Jorge's. So our plan is to just stop, get some electrolytes, load up my bottle, and go. We're not sitting around to visit or anything. So as we were leaving off camera, the guys that are behind us marking them came by, and then I told them we're going to do the forest. We're going further than they were. This road is chip seal, so it's not a whole lot of fun to ride. So whenever I get on it, I want to get it over with, but I don't want to push too hard. These riders are not with us. They're just people out here riding. I give them plenty of room as I go by. I don't need to say on your left and all of that, because they look like they know what they're doing. They're not weaving all over. So I keep my rhythm. I don't like to spin too much on these roads that are very choppy, so I maintain a steadier effort. There's a truck back there passing those guys. He's gonna pass us in a little bit. Listen to that wind. It was everywhere, but was still moving, so I found it a little confusing how we're able to go as fast as we did without a perfect tailwind. So the team our group is really flying right now, because we were not aided by the conditions. We were working, and that's why the group split up. By the time we got to Mount Moriah Road, there was a section of the group that wanted nothing to do with the pace the top 5 or 6 guys were holding. They had passed Paul and I, because we didn't stop. We just kept spinning and were chatting. They passed us, the guys that are at the store. And you will hear Paul let them know, because they asked us what happened to the other guys. Well, we didn't know, because we never stopped when they did. They all stopped, and then they started to go. Some of them started to go and came and passed us. And they thought maybe we knew what happened to the other guys. They were just back there riding at a slower pace, a more comfortable pace for them. They eventually all regrouped. So my plan here, when Paul and I ride together, we get a certain tempo that we decide to hold. And then he knows that if he feels it, he'll come to the front, take a pull for a little bit, then I'll resume. But a lot of times, if I want to go harder, I like riding with him because he will do his best to stay in the draft, and then I can push a little harder, but not super hard, but hard enough to where I'm working. I'm working here. This road is it looks smooth on camera, but you feel those the chips, like little rocks they put down, chip and seal they call it. I remember when Joe Nanga came, he came to the area, he said, I'm not a fan of these kind of roads. He mentioned that before he even came down to visit, because they got their share up there where he lives in Frisco, Texas, north of Dallas. They have quite a few highways that they do like that. I think they last longer. The surface lasts, but it's rough. And when you're tired, it's annoying. You don't get any free rotations. I keep the effort the same. You see the speed fluctuating.
No, he stay with his group.
I was asking him about a guy that latched onto us. I thought we had a passenger. That's what I told him. He said no. He stayed with us long enough for maybe 100 yards or so to get onto the back of his group that we passed off camera. I was not aware that Paul was filming until I turned around to make that comment. Then I saw the camera. So when we go through the forest, we stay around sweet spot mostly. So we're riding maybe 2.5 to 3 out of 5, let's say, for the most part. We don't stay right at endurance. We go harder than that. Bit of a little mound, like a grade here, and then it's gonna settle down. You can see in the distance we're approaching Dacus. Right here it goes downhill, so the speeds will go up, effort stays the same. I keep my rhythm the same by selecting the proper ratio. There's a bit of a bump here, then it's gonna drop us down into Dacus. It's a nice downhill. See the speeds go up, and my effort's going down because we're going downhill. And look at the watts, not that much. It's not hard, so we're just basically enjoying the downhill. I keep my legs spinning to kind of keep them circulating the lactic acid. As the road levels, obviously the watts going up. It's going to go up a little bit more. I select the proper gearing to keep my rhythm the same. You see how we get a car every now and then. The shoulder widens, I move over, it's gonna get even wider.
He's traveling somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm
Tomorrow,
telling
I
Paul
think.
that Mo has a ride coming up. I heard he and another rider talking at one of the intersections.
Yeah, it was good to see you.
Yeah.
That's the sign on the right. It
Let's
says
get your fill up
Dacus.
right here, man. Get your bottle here.
This is when Paul
So we
suggested
can
I
go.
should get my bottles filled here so we don't have to be concerned because where we're going, there aren't any other choices until you get to Taco Corner. So because we filled it here, we just bypassed. We didn't even ride near Taco Corner. We took another route. We took the back way through a neighborhood and got to 105.
This seems to make you work hard.
Yep.
Yeah, we're talking about the surface of the road. It's very chippy. You can see the little pebbles that are stuck in there. So I looked in the mirror and I told them I don't even see marking them in the mirror. So they really dropped their pace. So as we come out of the store, they will be here off camera. But here, as we arrive, you will hear Logan ask.
Yeah, I'm good. Just
Any idea what happened to everybody else?
So that's Logan. They had passed us. So Paul explains to him.
they were with you when you left, right?
Let's get
We stopped at that near that gas station. And
Right.
some people went to the bathroom, and then
Because we saw you guys come around, so we were not with them at all. So we never saw them after that.
all you legends. We're filming Capitol Hill Road. Last time we came through here, the power meter conked out. So we're wrapping up our ride. We thought we'd get some clips for you all.
This is after the forest. We're on Capitol Hill Road after getting off of Raven Chapel. And what had happened back there at the store was that we just filled our bottles and left, and when we're leaving, Mark and them arrived.
Yep.
I tell Paul here's big gear we're riding. But basically what happened was that we didn't stop when they stopped. Like Logan said, they stopped at that store at 105, the gas station. We kept rolling casually. So Logan and them came around us. And I guess he thought we had seen them. But I expected them to catch up with us, but they just changed their pace. So we were going further. I told Mark as we left the store, they had arrived. I told him, we're going through the forest. And he said, yeah, be safe. Have a safe ride. And so he knew we were pretty much taking off to do our own thing. So we're approaching the FM 2978, Fishcreek Boulevard. This section is called McCaleb Road that we're going to approach, and it's about maybe a kilometer long before the name changes to Fishcreek Thoroughfare when we go over the overpass. We like coming down Capitol so you get to work on a climb. You know, we're not going hard, but once we get on Fishcreek, we decide to just kind of empty the tank. Neither of us had a great training week. We just been busy with life, so we didn't know how we're gonna do. It's clear. I tell him it's clear. There's no cars at all. This is McCaleb Road, which becomes Fishcreek. New pavement. This entire time, of course, I'm using my mirror. We can see that, man, this is just nice. We like coming out here because, low volume of traffic. They're moving when they go by, but it's better than being in the city and just dealing with too many stops. So there's a high exercise potential. That's why we come out this way. I'm looking in my mirror when you see me look down, just to kind of keep my eye on the other road users. At this point, I am focusing on effort. I want to get the effort right at the top of zone 2. You hear the wind, it's swirling around. Look at that sky, it's beautiful. Because of the storms we've had in the area, in recent weeks, or recent days, I should say, we had threats of it coming to our area, but it did not come inland. It was on the coast. So the temperatures have been down over the last couple of weeks. Today was warmer than it has been, but it was still just a beautiful day. Picturesque sky. We're going over 2854 here. And I think I'm going to motion Paul to come up so he can lead us down. There's a lot of debris, and then there is like, yeah, this is where I motion him to come up. There's like a sewer that they build on the overpass, and it's like a dip. So I don't use that shoulder when I come through here. I'm on the road. Paul's gonna come over as we approach that sewer because it's a dip to encourage the water to go in. So you don't want to go over it. There it is on the right. So we may have a lot of momentum here where we're approaching almost 30 miles an hour, but as soon as we pass this sign, you'll see the speed starts dropping. You lose that immediately because it's breezy and the road kind of starts going up. See, it says grade 1. So in a little bit, we'll switch. I'll go to the front and I'll tell them and say, I'm going to go as fast as I can because I want to carry all the momentum I can gather into. You look in the distance there where you see that little slope to the left. That's 4.5 to 5% up there. This is where we switch the camera. So that's almost 4.5, 5%. It really hits the legs when you get there. Listen to that wind. We're doing almost 30 miles an hour, but we lose all of that when we get up there. So I try to go as fast as possible, take all this momentum into that climb. Fast as possible without killing your legs or anything. You know, we got about probably 16K to ride.
Yep.
That's what I'm telling him. This is the steepest pitch in this section of it. We're approaching Leah Drive. Look at, we dropped to 25 kilometers an hour at the same effort. Zone 2. I think that's Leah Drive we just passed. It connects to Honia, Egypt. See, it says 30C. When we started, let's see, what time is it now? 9:37. Let's say about 7:30. It was probably 20C. So it's gone up 10 degrees Celsius. That's like 5 Fahrenheit, let's say, in 2 hours. It warmed up quickly, and it was muggier than we've been accustomed to over the last couple of weeks. So that stop to load up the bottles was perfect. We didn't need to stop after that. Right here, I started to feel my effort going up. I'm feeling good, surprisingly to me, because I did not expect to feel as good as I did. I decided to just sit up here and just ride. And you will see Paul get closer. Listen to that wind. This is not wind aided. We're earning this effort. I mean, this speed that you see, because the road goes up here. I downshift. I get in the drops just to change my hand position. I'm driving fairly hard, but my heart rate did not go up in a crazy manner. I was kind of surprised. The watts are not high right here, but they will pick up. There's a red light, so it's a short light. So I time it and it changes. And you can see as I try to get back up to speed, the watts go up. Once we start cruising, it will go down. In this section here, I increase my cadence because I want to save my legs for that. There is a last climb in probably 6 or 7 kilometers that we come to as we get into the city. So I increase my cadence here. This entire time I'm riding, keep in mind I've got a mirror on the far end so I can see what's happening in this lane. So when I position myself, I've already checked to make sure nobody else is encroaching in our lane. In a few kilometers, it'll get busy. I will move over periodically when it's very crowded. But right now, I know it's open. So we want to use our little half of our lane that we usually like to use. It gives us enough buffer between us and the other lane. And we're moving here. You hear the wind. There is no tailwind here. I lower my torso to keep the watts low. I'm in the drops and I got my torso pretty low. Then I even drop my head periodically. Because when you drop your head, you can feel the wind flow over it. Go back on the tops. I think the road's going up. I downshift a couple of times. Keep my rhythm. When you're riding, don't worry about speed. Focus on your effort and focus on how your body feels, especially when you want to sustain the effort. It gets windier, so I lower my torso again. I get in the drops. The light is red over there. We're going to time it. It's a little more unpredictable than the other lights out here, so I start to slow down early because I don't want to come to a complete stop. And then it changes. So I kick it up. See the watts? It takes a lot of watts to get back up to speed. It's inefficient. So when you drive your car, avoid racing from intersection to intersection. You're wasting gas. Cruise whenever possible. I'm looking in my mirror for Paul. Then I check, he's there. I go ahead and settle back into the rhythm. So you don't need a big group to go fast. What you want to do is work with whoever you're riding with, or even by yourself, and break them up. Shoot, push hard for as long as you can, and then take a break, and then do it again. That's why they call them intervals. So you teach your body to tolerate more work for shorter periods of time. Because over time, as you get fitter, those intervals can be extended. I take a drink here. I think I'm going to switch the bottles, yeah. Because that one is empty. Put it on the back. I make sure it's in before I leave the bottle because I don't want it falling. Until I feel it slot into the cage, I don't let it go. I don't know what happened over there. My foot on clip. I think I twisted it. My shoe wasn't feeling quite right. I think I twisted my foot. So I settle back in and just put my head down. I'm focusing more on the effort. I'm right around sweet spot, and that's where I want to stay. The reason I'm staying at sweet spot is when we get to the last climb as we get into town, after the bump, which is around 5% or so, it's a drag of about 2%, and it varies until you get to the light at Honia Egypt Community Road. So you got to save something. I'm keeping my cadence down here. For some reason, it felt better. The wind just picked up quite a bit, and I'm working against a lot of resistance from the wind and the slope. So this just feels good. So I continue to drive the pedals and stay smooth through the stroke, pulling back, kicking over, using the back of my legs more than anything. The speeds go up because the road slopes down here. It'll level off by the time we get to the next light. We're doing almost 27 miles an hour. Most of the time when you're moving like this, the drivers give you plenty of room. They can see that we're working. Our heads are down. We're not chatting. We're working. The shoulder gets wide, I move over and take the shoulder. It's a nice, new, wide, clean shoulder. I still stay within a foot of the white line for visibility and the cleanliness by the white line as the cars go by. All the debris gets blown further to the right. But I'm thinking about that overpass. Well, I wouldn't call it an overpass. This bridge, at the end of the bridge, there's a hill there. And it gets to you in a hurry. The grade kind of begins here. You can see the speeds drop. Effort's about the same. Effort dropped maybe a little bit, 153, so I'm right around zone 2 as opposed to sweet spot. I'm still riding the same, it's just that the effort went down. So when you get fit, you don't always stay up there, you know. If you fit and you're in a good position on the bike, after a while your heart rate will settle versus where it initially peaks when you start an effort. And then you can decide if you want to drive it up there or not, or leave it where it is. That's what training does. It helps you ride faster under less effort over time. We're on this little climb after the bridge. I'm gonna stay in the big chain ring. I think I ended up using a 53.25 or something like that. So right around here, this thing really pitches up to around 5%. Once you get over it, it continues. So you have like a false flat for the next 2.5, 3 kilometers. So that little bump we went over increased the effort to where my body worked harder and got up to from zone 2 to sweet spot. And now we've settled, but the grade stays between 1 to 2.5, something like that. You know, you just feel a little grind. It's kind of like a grind here. I use this part of the road, I use the shoulder because it's clean. Where it's not clean, I keep my eye for the other road users and make sure I use the road when necessary before they crowd me. But it's a bit busier than where we've been. So the shoulder is safe, so I use it. And even when they pass in that lane next to us, they give us a little bit of room, so it's not that bad. But this just basically, we keep moving. and only use that main lane if we have to. But if you're going to be going into the main lane, like when you saw us getting away from the gravel that had washed onto the road, do it early, take the lane. Don't wait till you run into an obstacle and have to dart into the lane. Don't dart into the lane. Check early, keep your eye open, scan the road, and move over before you need to, so that other road users can see your position and they're not surprised by any sudden movements you have to make. So when we ride with the bigger group around here, the effort is usually hard because we've gone over that bump and then there's a drag and everybody's pushing and you're close to home. It's kind of like you're sprinting for the city limit signs coming back home. So everybody goes hard here. And then after the light, it's kind of like, okay, we're home, and everybody backs off. The light that's coming up in the distance. So even though we went another hour further than those guys, as we approached the city of the Woodlands, we saw some of the riders that had been in the group. They were standing by the side of the road. I don't even know if the camera will pick them up. So if you want to go fast, you have to learn how to pace yourself, and you have to learn how to ride at an effort you can sustain, because that will help you build your endurance, because that's what you need to go fast. You need to have some kind of endurance that you can build on. Since that guy is there, I go to the right to avoid the debris, which keeps me on the shoulder. So even though it's windy, or we're just kind of riding along between 18 to 20, you know, right here like it's nothing, because we've been going a lot faster before we got here. That's kind of how you have to train to get your body to adapt to different efforts. You have to train harder than you think you need to for whatever ride or event you're going to do. I think it's somewhere around here we saw some of the riders. I don't know if they'll pick them up. If we look to the right, I don't even know if I see them on the camera. Right around here we saw them, because I looked to the right there.
All right.
Or maybe it's after this light. Usually we turn left here. I just told Paul, let's go straight. We ended up going straight. There were too many cars. And we were rolling. I didn't want to stop. There are the riders to the right there.
That's them.
That's the riders. That's Mike Weingrad, another rider. They're standing on the right. So I hope you got a chance to get your K's in this weekend. This is part of what we did on Saturday.